Hello everybody out there, and welcome back here with the future once again to another retro showcase and review. And today we are going to be looking at a couple figures from a toy line that was released in 1994 for the film of the same date, Stargate, which was also released in 1994. And I have the figures of Raw and Daniel Jackson here, respectively. Everybody knows Daniel Jackson, played by James Spader. He was one of the main characters alongside Kurt Russell, who played Jack O'Neill in the commercially acclaimed film, which has a cult following still to this day. This Stargate film was the first of the Stargate film franchise. And also you had Raw, who was played by Jay Davidson. So I have a Jay Davidson and a... James Spader. I almost said Jay Spader, but James Spader figure here. And one of the complaints about these figures is that they were not accurate to that of the movie. And I went through and looked at the animated series and everything, and these figures do not represent anything in the media of Stargate. They look totally different. A few of the characters do look totally different than they did in the film. And the pharaohs on here, the ancient pharaohs, they all had the exact same body with just different accessories and paint apps to them, so there was no like differentiation in any of the sculpts for any of the pharaohs from the film. They are all dressed with that, space type helmet that would, attach to their head. This almost follows the ancient aliens, that like an ancient alien civilization helped mold our civilization. It helps kind of explain that theory in this movie. And this movie has actually been talked about on the Ancient Aliens on the History Channel, if anybody ever watches that sometimes. I used to watch it all the time, don't as much anymore, but it is still going, and they have mentioned about there being a portal or a Stargate in the past, or still to this day maybe. Kind of far-fetched, but still, anything's possible. But these are the 1994 Raw and Daniel Jackson Stargate action figures from 1994, produced by Hasbro. And one of the things about this line is that they kind of followed the mold of G.I. Joe when they made the action figures, as the figures have an illustration to the right of the card back, instead of like a depiction from the film or a actual figure depiction. And then the profiles on the back are actual illustrations from the card backs, just like G.I. Joe did with their checklist on the back on their cross cells. We'll look at that here in a second. But yeah, I hope everybody enjoys taking a look at these. I want to thank everybody who subscribed lately, dropped any comments, left any feedback. I appreciate all the support on my channel here. Keep it up, guys. If this is your first time viewing, make sure you do all that I just mentioned. And now let's take a look at this retro showcase and review of the Stargate, Daniel Jackson, and Raw. They're around 4 inches tall too, so I'm going to say 4-inch action figures from Hasbro. Let's check them out. Okay, so here we have the two mint on card. I didn't mention in the beginning that this is a mint on card action figure review. I will not be busting these open. My friend Michael the Two-Ply has busted open, I think, both of these figures out of the card and showed them off. But we're going to just keep these mint on card to add to my mint on card retro action figure collection. But definitely going to showcase and review all of them mint on card like I have been doing already. Go back to my retro showcase and review corner, which I put at the beginning of this video, and check out all my retro showcase and reviews I've been doing mint on card and loose retro showcase and reviews lately. But these are so cool. Like I said, much in the vein of G.I. Joe with the artwork over to the right. Hasbro also produced G.I. Joe at the time as well. This was in 1994 when these were released. Incredible card backs. That's one reason why I do not want to bust these open for sure, because they're artwork, and you can see the Stargate here around the back of the card, and it's a circular card back, very different card back than your standard, square card backs at the time, or rectangle card backs. This actually had, a curvature to it, and had the Stargate ring here in the back, the device, very cool. My friend Michael the Two-Ply pointed that how he loves that in the back of this card back, and I also love these card backs too. You know, you have your space theme up there, the spaceship pyramid there. But this is a look at Daniel Jackson, who was played by James Spader, and you can see that it does not look much like James Spader. I don't know if they even really cared about acquiring the actual likenesses to the characters for this line or not, because look, the articulation and detail, not articulation, but the detail in the face definitely does not look like James Spader. The articulation on this fig, come to mention, is a 5-point articulation too, much like your standard Star Wars figures were. Move at the legs and the arms and at the head. But the sculpting is not too bad on these figures, though. Daniel Jackson, who is just Daniel on this figure, they do not even say Jackson, but Daniel, you can see pegs on the bottom as well, which they never really incorporated into the line. But Daniel, who played by James Spader, wore more like a military fatigue color. I don't think they wanted to put them all in the same color, maybe. And he wore a hat in a scene or two, but it was not a, you know, red trucker hat with the white. We used to get those in Little League when I played in Little League back in the day. They'd give us hats like that. But look, even in the illustration here, he even has like a Egyptian badge there with an Egyptian symbol on it there coming off his neck. I don't know if they, yeah, they even added that onto the figure as well. So he's got that pendant on. You see the bandolier strapped across his chest, which he did not wear during the movie. You can see very like stumpy fingers for the hands, but I've seen worse. But nonetheless, the figure's not too bad. He comes with the collectible pyramid artifact you can see there. So this is a pyramid artifact, and I think it does, yeah, coming over the camera. It's just lying there, but the you do have the door side here of the pyramid, so some detail there. And he also comes with the backpack here, a shooting battle blaster, they call it. And I think on the back, does it show us how to use the shooting battle blaster? No, it doesn't. Some kind of projectile deal. I should have looked at the Michael the Two-Ply's video before this and seen how this gun actually fired off. But also it looks like a smaller machine gun there with a scope on it and all as well, which he's depicted with in the illustration there. But he does have this battle blaster too, with a shooting battle blaster and a backpack there to go on his back. So very much like G.I. Joe, you know, they pictured with the accessories and everything, but they weren't, you know, on one of them deals where you had to pop them off like G.I. Joe. I always hated that about G.I. Joe weapons. They came like that on that rack that you had to pop them off of. Let's get a look here because I have some notes. If I'm missing anything here on Daniel's figure. But no, it just looks like, you know, the battle blaster and the pyramid are all I had wrote down, and that's basically what they have on the packaging. And you can see down here a warning about it containing small parts. Always, you know, under the age of 3. I don't know how they determine that. But also a caution, do not aim weapon at eyes or face. So that is a projectile weapon. As I saw with shooting battle blaster, I figured so. And now that I remember, I think I remember Michael the Two-Ply firing that off in one of the videos I seen of Daniel here that I watched. And I love the Stargate emblem to the top. You can see I do have the DVD here of Stargate. And there's James Spader as Daniel right there on the back. So you see the depiction of him in the film. Usually running around with this longer hair. His hair's not even long, you know. There's the character he's supposed to be portraying. And you can see the green fatigues too. That they did not give him. And he even wore a green fatigues hat. There's the Stargate there device. that you can see on the back of the packaging. So they did a good job, you know, with the illustration on that. You can see that's a cool comparison there with the DVD. But you see, you know, they do use, you know, kind of the same symbol for the DVD, but not. Definitely used a different font, you know, with the red outline, and the pyramid shining a lot brighter in this one with like a star shine behind it. This one here, it's directly behind the spaceship. So James Spader and Kurt Russell, you can see right there on the front. So he gets first bill. This is a special edition artisan DVD. Special features, 9 minutes of additional footage, commentary with director Roland Emmerich and producer Dean Devlin, so that's cool. I don't think I've watched this with the commentary yet, but you can see everybody there. Professor Daniel Jackson, James Spader, and they even mention Raw down here, as they must battle the astoundingly powerful sun. Let's read this actually real quick. When a mysterious woman makes Professor Daniel Jackson, James Spader, an offer he can't refuse, he ends up in a secret Air Force military base. His mission to decode an ancient Egyptian artifact known as the Stargate. The mission leader, Colonel Jack O'Neill, Kurt Russell, a tough military man with nerves of steel, commands their trip through the Stargate to an ancient civilization on the other side of the universe. But once there, they must battle the astoundingly powerful sun god Ra, Jay Davidson, before they can find their way back home. And there's Ra without his, you know, helmet on, or mask that he wears in this movie, whatever you want to call it. It's Pharaoh style. But 1994, pretty sweet having the DVD there. We'll just set that right there in the back as we take a look at these. And now I think we've took a look, you know, enough at the front here. It's just crazy how much it does not look like Spader. Either they didn't get the rights for the actual characters themselves and just got the name for the movie, kind of like the Robin Hood line did. They never did make a character that actually looked like Robin Williams in that. Maybe that's the same deal here with the Hasbro Stargate line, but I'm not sure. There you see it says, with shooting battle blaster, Daniel, archaeologist. Pretty sweet. And then Stargate. Gotta love that. And the back of these cards, you can see very G.I. Joe-like with the illustrations here of the figures from the line. There was 8 figures, 4 bad guys, 4 good guys. You had Daniel Jackson, Colonel O'Neill, Lieutenant Kowalski, that was your 4, and also Skara, that was your 4 good guys. And then you had the Pharaohs, Ra, Palace Guard Horus, Attack Pilot Horus, and Anubis. So Anubis, Horus, Attack Pilot, and Palace Guard, and then Ra were your 4 bad characters you could get. And then Daniel Jackson. They actually say it's Daniel Jackson on the back though, and not on the front. How weird! They couldn't even put it below. Just noticed that. Daniel Jackson, Colonel O'Neill, Lieutenant Kowalski, and Skara. And it says up there, official action figures, vehicles, and accessories bring the Stargate movie adventure to life. Collect them all. How weird, though, because it's saying the movie even, but they didn't get the rights for the figures' actual depictions of the actors, I guess. Hasbro toy up there, it says. A division of Hasbro Incorporated. So this was Hasbro toy. And then, much like G.I. Joe's, also, you have like a file card here. And also, you also had, 2 vehicles and a creature here. You had the winged glider with firing missile launchers. Your all-terrain cruiser includes shooting launcher. And your mustache beast here that includes harness, shooting catapult, launcher, and transport sled. Don't remember any sled in the movie. That actually is a G.I. Joe all-terrain vehicle released back in like 1985. I can't remember the exact name of the vehicle that they used for this line, but they gave the bad guys a line. They had to give the good guys a vehicle in this line. The bad guys, had the wing glider up here that we actually did see in the film, along with the mustache. But that all-terrain cruiser was never in the film. Clip and collect all your bio cards to form Stargate pyramids. And it also says, you know, your scissors and how to do it. Repeat with the 4 alien bio cards. And of course they are aliens, so they do refer, I've been referring to them as the pharaohs, but they're, you know, aliens. That, you know, like I said, they do the whole ancient alien concept with this movie. And it says weapon, battle blaster, artifact, pyramid, Daniel. You can see down there, Stargate, 1994. The Studio Canal. And over here, distributed by Hasbro Incorporated. But there's hieroglyphics there. And it says about Daniel, after years of studying about the great pyramids of Egypt, Daniel Jackson, a child genius in college, came to the conclusion that the pyramids were not built by Egyptians 5,000 years ago, but were constructed thousands of years earlier. Such a radical theory causes academic colleagues to dismiss his ideas as ridiculous. When he comes in contact with the mysterious Stargate, Daniel is given the chance to prove his theories correct, while proving himself a hero. Good old Daniel Jackson. Says, clip and collect to build the Stargate pyramid. And over here you got your process by which Egyptians prepared and preserved bodies for the afterlife. Mummification. It would be the answer to that. Collect all 8 figure cards to complete the hieroglyphic alphabet used to decode and create hieroglyphic messages. So you got this little deal. You can do all sorts of little things on here for a 1994 figure. Really cool. Like I said, much in the vein of G.I. Joe with that cross-sell card back illustrations there for each figure in the line. All 8. Kind of weird how they didn't put them together, like they separated Skara from Lieutenant Kowalski over here to Daniel Jackson and Colonel O'Neill, and then these 3 are like scattered about instead of like keeping 4 over here and 4 over here. Why couldn't they do that? I don't know, just a little observation I made. So the card backs are not going to be too much different on Ra here, the powerful sun god himself. These figures had, you know, the potential to produce more waves, but sadly we only got 1 series of figures out of them. In my opinion, they do not look that bad, but I was not a huge fan of the actual film. I actually just added this to my DVD collection like 2 months back because I wanted to watch it before I did this review. And I watched it, and it's not the greatest sci-fi film of all time, definitely, but it's up there. You know, definitely I can see why it's a cult favorite. And, you know, the special effects on this were amazing, actually, for 1994. They did some really cool stuff on that aspect. So the science fiction aspect of this movie is really good. Of course, Kurt Russell and Spader are going to bring it in acting, so it's not that bad of a movie, but definitely not the greatest sci-fi movie of all time, but it's held up there by some people in high regards, like I said, and definitely has a really good following still to this day, and it was commercially successful. So yeah, it had the potential with a lot more characters in the film to produce more figures, but I guess they didn't sell well, so they ended up stopping the Stargate action figure line by Hasbro. And here you can see the ruler of Abydos, and with shooting ferro gun, Ra. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, by the way. Abydos. And then down here it says collectible alien spaceship artifact, much like in the vein of the Daniel Jackson one, but you know, in the same colors as well. So the card backs are not much different for the villains as they are for the good guys, I would say, are the archaeologists in this group. It says archaeologist. I don't know if I did that, but this one says ruler of Abydos. And with shooting ferro gun, like I said, and here's the shooting ferro gun on card. Kind of hard to demonstrate that, you know, men on card. But that's all they gave him other than the alien spaceship artifact, and that's the little artifact of the spaceship himself, which those are really cool, as my friend 2Ply also pointed out. I saw his review that he did of this. Very cool. I love the illustration of Ra there on the side. The ruler of Abydos. And then he has this staff over here to the left as well, which they don't really explain what they actually call that. but they are used in the film, so that's accurate. And it has your caution and your warning again. Not much change there. But up top you can see the fantastic artwork on the card back. A little bit of a bend on my Raw over here in the corner. But if I'm going to get $1 or a few dollars off for that, you know, maybe on eBay, just because of a little bend like that, I'm not, you know, against that, because displaying, it's going to be hard to see that. As you can see, I hold the camera back here and you can't see it much. So we go to the back, and again, the official action figures, vehicles, and accessories bring the Stargate movie adventure to life, and the same exact illustrations as we see on the Daniel Jackson figure. As you see, all 8 figures from the line, and you can see the vehicles once again pictured over to the bottom left there. The how to do the put all these pieces together like so and forms a pyramid. I guess you do 4 sides for the good guys and 4 sides for the alien pharaohs. And also you have a question over here. It says Egyptians had many gods, most of which are depicted as having the heads of, and I'm going to pick the heads of like a bird usually, or a falcon or whatever, because usually you always see that. As you see right there, there's a bird on top of his head, so I'm going to go with that. But I don't know where the answers actually are. It says collect all 8 figure cards to complete the hieroglyphic alphabet used to decode and create hieroglyphic messages. I'm trying to see, like, I don't see any kind of answers over here, but I guess they don't give you answers for those. But anyway, here's a little write-up on Raw himself, and man, do I love that illustration of Raw. I'd almost love to draw that. I love to draw things, and usually I look at something to draw, and I can draw it pretty good, pretty much like it is, so that'd be really sweet to do with that Raw right there, which I have to say looks nothing in the face. But he's using that, you know, mask, though, but he definitely looks nothing like Jay Davis did in the film, who played Raw. Much more jacked up. Jay Davidson definitely wasn't that jacked. And James Spader is skinny. He's not like all jacked like that either. That's another thing about these figures. They're pretty beefed up, you know, for the way the characters were actually depicted on screen. He was not this jacked up guy like he is in the illustration, but in the 90s, you know, the Star Wars figs and everything was like kind of buffed up, so he was ripped. But it says Raw is the question ruler of Abydos. I have to change I want to say Abydos every time, but it's Abydos, and his very name strikes fear in the human slaves on the planet. Raw possesses unimaginable secret powers and the total loyalty of his elite Horus guards. Although surrounded by luxury, Raw is unfeeling and ruthless, with no regard for human life. Raw's power and influence become threatened with the arrival of the Stargate team, and he must fight at all costs to maintain control of his evil rule. So he definitely doesn't want to, you know, lose control of his kingdom that he has created, that he is ruling, the civilization that is ruled, that he has the Stargate. 1994 you see there, and you're distributed by Hasbro once again. Your hieroglyphic, only a couple there for Raw, opposed to a whole slew of them here for Daniel. So I guess these mean different things. But yeah, I guess you would put all 4 of the alien pharaohs together and all 4 of the archaeologist good guys together, and they would form your, you know, you could decode and create hieroglyphic messages, as it says there. So a cool touch. Love the artwork on this, you know, all illustrations, even illustrations of the vehicles there. But get some good shots of these, because that's what would be pictured on the right of the card backs of each of these. It's like a little portal behind them, like they're coming out of a Stargate. Pretty damn neat. There's Colonel O'Neill, Kurt Russell. Not too bad of a depiction for Russell, really. Russell looks a lot better in the face now that I noticed, and his gear is definitely more like he wore in the film, where Daniel Jackson is definitely, you know, not looking much like James Spader at all. and wearing something completely different. They used Colonel O'Neill's likeness a lot better, so it looks like I said, some of the figures are completely, you know, different. But you can collect them all. Not too expensive to pick up offline on eBay on the secondary market. But yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed taking a look at these two figures from the Stargate 1994 action figure line from Hasbro of Daniel Jackson, the archaeologist, and Raw, the ruler of Abydos, played by Jay Davidson and James Spader respectively. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching this and checking it out. Hope everybody enjoyed taking a look at these. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a comment down below, give me a like if you like what you saw, if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, I hope everybody enjoyed this. Keep collecting, check out Stargate, and as always, peace out.